Welcome to Friday 15 with Master B2B. Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Beck. I'm here with Mr. Andy Hoare. And once again, the band just shut off. Man.
Yeah, really. Brian, you really have to pay those guys.
Hold on. I got to fix this. You know, it's the fade in, fade out thing. So it just doesn't seem to want to work. Here, let's fade it out. There, that's what it's supposed to be. There we go. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Friday 15. I'm excited to be here with Andy Hoare for another week of fun and exciting B2B e-commerce news and discussion. Let's see if we can keep it to 15 minutes. It will not happen. Andy, happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you as well.
Excellent. Well, Andy, let's jump right into our breaking news here. And let's see, what do we have today? I'm all the way at the end of this presentation. Hold on one sec, everybody. I get you back to the beginning here. I don't know why I did that, but let's do there. So, Andy, I don't know if you saw this or not, but Lowe's is buying an interior finishes decorator, ADG, for $1.3 billion. This was reported in MDM, and they talk about it as it relates to a boost in their professional business, so their B2B business. And the article talked about while it's a fraction of the scale of Home Depot's 1.8 billion purchase of SRS,
18 billion.
Yeah. Sorry, 18 billion. Last year, it can be seen as at least in part an answer to it, whereas SRS is helping Home Depot to cater to the complex pro looking to buy related exterior products. ADG will help Lowe's offer adjacent products to pros, and these guys do kind of installation services for flooring, cabinets, countertops, that sort of thing. So definitely moving to B2B, and we even got some feedback from our community about this. A VP of digital at a very large $1 billion plus distributor, one of our community members, he said, underlying all this is a powerful unspoken motivator, financial rewards. The incentive structure drives urgency for distributors to scale rapidly and profitably. And he was calling out just different benefits to different types of people. The PE firm that's they're helping to support this stuff. The company, the distributor, expanding their market. What's your reaction to all this?
I'll say two things about this. One is we are seeing more B2C companies going B2B. I mean, Lowe's, I remember I sat with the Lowe's team like 10 years ago at a dinner, and they sort of confessed quietly under their breath that they were doing more B2B business than B2C. Yeah. And that was 10 years ago. So I think what these companies are realizing is that the B2B is a pretty lucrative business, and they're discovering or rediscovering or rediscovering the pro market. And so you mentioned the SRS thing with Home Depot, ADG, apparently every acronym they can think of for these pro groups. But that's point number one. Point number two, which ties into something we're doing next week, is that this is another example of the PE, the private equity-ification of B2B distribution. These were both companies that, were PE owned, where the PE companies, I think ADG was, I know SRS was, where they take the company, fix it up, and then sell it. And the SRS was enormously successful. It was a win-win-win, which we'll find out next week whether that happens all the time or not. But at B2B Online next Tuesday, you and I are going to be on stage debating whether PE is good or bad for B2B distribution. And I think it's going to be an interesting one. And these are two examples.
Yeah. And clearly PE is winning. That's the side I'm taking. So it is good. It's good. So yeah, that'll be fun next week. We'll have more info about that later.
Don't be surprised if I don't bring some older folks whose lives were ruined. All their money was taken by a PE. Well, I'm not going to preview anything, but it could happen.
All right, get a bunch of whiners on your team. Great. Okay, let's move on. So our topic today is Amazon a friend or a foe to B2B companies? And I live this every single day with my company Nceba, where we help B2B companies with their Amazon strategy. This is a fascinating topic, and it's one that let me set us up a little bit here, because we talked about this with our at our Mindshare Summit. So we got some feedback there. We'll share a little bit later. But here's a few stats for you, Andy. Amazon is responsible for almost 40% of all U.S. e-commerce. Okay, that's across the board, B2B, B2C. And almost 70% of U.S. households have a Prime membership within them. Think about it. Almost 70%. That is
Yeah,
the
and probably close to 90% of people above $100,000 a year in household income. So it goes even
yes.
higher for the more coveted groups.
I mean, that is the most successful loyalty program in the history of humankind. Just think about it. I mean, that is 70% of U.S. households. I used to ask the question, who's a Prime member? When I would speak in front of a group. Now I have to ask the other question, who's not? And the one person that raises their hand out of 300 people, everyone looks at them like, "What's wrong with you?" So it's a fascinating dynamic. And so Amazon Business is this thing that not many people really realize what's happening here. This year, Bank of America has them projected to do $83 billion. Sanity check, folks. Guess what Granger's sales were last year? 17 billion. This is more than 4.5 times the size of Granger. And it ain't just office supplies. This is
Yeah,
across
well,
categories.
yeah, and keep in mind too, this is just Amazon Business, which is their avowedly B2B property. But nobody knows except Amazon, and perhaps they don't even know how much B2B business they're doing on Amazon.com. So if
Yeah.
you add in that to what Amazon Business is doing, if you could somehow paint a picture of the universe of B2B sales that Amazon has, I
Yeah.
don't have, I can't even fathom a guess. It's
It's
hundreds
it's
of billions of
yeah,
dollars.
it's probably around double this number. So think about that: $160 billion in B2B transactions. That's right. There's 6 million B2B Amazon Business accounts, right? So think about that. That's still a lot of people that are using personal Prime accounts to buy for their business. So in addition to those number of business accounts, and this isn't all fact, and this isn't all theory or high level numbers. Andy, we work with clients that are growing. This is a large billion-dollar plus plumbing manufacturer, and their annual or their monthly sales. They started an Amazon program. We run it for them. 18 about 20 months ago, and at zero, they were at zero. They're now doing almost $2 million a month in sales. And guess what? 2/3 of their sales are coming from Amazon Business specifically. This is in theory. This is companies actually seeing, and benefiting from this growth. So clearly, there is a huge sales opportunity, and it's because a lot of what's driving this is that buyers are searching. B2B buyers are searching for items. Where are they starting? On Amazon Business. Statista did a study a couple of years ago and asked, where are you starting your search? They polled B2B buyers. Guess what was number one? Amazon Business with almost 50%. That's above, vendor sites, other marketplaces, online portals, distributor and manufacturer websites. They're starting their search now on Amazon Business, and this is being driven by younger buyers, millennials now entering their 40s. So Amazon Business is evolved from Amazon Supply, which was their first round. You remember this, Andy, right? You used to work and
I
talk to
was
Amazon.
I was there when they did it, when they undid it, and when they launched Amazon Business. I remember talking to Prentice Wilson way back in the day when he's like, "We're doing Amazon Supply, okay. We're
Yeah,
not doing Amazon Supply anymore. Now it's Amazon Business, okay."
right.
And now it is what it is, right?
Well, it started in 2012, Amazon Supply, and they ran it for about 3 years, and frankly, it didn't work very well. But they learned a lot of things from it, right? And so they launched Amazon Business in 2015, and of course, Amazon has the pockets to do these sorts of things, start massive initiatives, but I mean, it's the same website, right? It's they learned a lot of things when they moved over to Amazon Business, so now it's the same website. You log in with business credentials, but now they have teams in the field, buy side teams, sell side teams. They're out there recruiting big buyers. They're bidding on RFPs. They're doing all sorts of things to build the buy side as well as recruit sellers. They have tools specifically for business buyers, pricing tools. So if I'm a seller on Amazon, I can set up bulk and tiered pricing. I can respond to quotes. They have business prime. They're targeting specific industries. They've integrated to over 100 procurement systems, profiles. You can set up credentials, like if you're ISO 9001 certified, you can add that. I mean, it's incredible. You can add content. They're doing a lot of things that particularly mid-market distribution is lagging on. So, when you look at what's happening, they're meeting the need of the B2B buyer, just like they built the consumer side. In fact,
But
there's
Brian, are they just the front, just for the audience, are they just the front end for this? They're using distributors to do they list the distributors, right? So can you clarify a little bit about what Amazon Business is? I think not everybody's clear on that.
Well, it's, a distributor can sell on it, or a manufacturer can, right? So it operates like Amazon does. Amazon as a marketplace. It's very similar. So you'll have Amazon buying and selling products itself in what's called Vendor Central or 1P, like they would do in like a regular distributor would, right? Where they would buy, hold stock, and then resell the product. That's called Vendor Central. But also a distributor or manufacturer can set up a marketplace account that's called Seller Central and sell through Amazon. So it's analogous to what Amazon does in its regular consumer business. But the difference is there's a lot more tools for the business buyer and seller to meet the workflow that a B2B buyer or seller needs in order to be successful. So it has a lot of similarities to regular old Amazon.com, the one that's existed for 30 years, right? Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. And I think this could be an interesting discussion about which one is better to do, Vendor Central or Seller Central. And maybe we'll address that in.
Yeah, I think we will. I think we will. We'll get to that one too. Not today so much, but in the Amazon, just their CEO finally, Jassy, he finally spoke to Amazon Business in the 2022 letter to shareholders. So the first time ever, and he basically the net of what he said is, we believe that we've only scratched the surface on what's possible to date with Amazon Business, and he's talking about a business that's over $80 billion. So, you think about their potential here. They're now after planned spend. They're after, that 80 billion is mostly tail spend, Andy. It's all, it's money that's been spent on, it's the stuff that breaks. You didn't know you needed it, right? As a B2B buyer. Well, they're after planned spend now. Managed spend, planned spend, which is the bulk of large business purchasing in B2B. So, they've got programs now they're rolling out around that. And all this is good, but it ain't all roses and happiness, right? We did a study, a survey. We do this every year at NCBA, 2025, end of last year. We did this survey and asked the question, how satisfied are you with your sales volume and profitability on Amazon? This is active sellers. Almost a third of them said we're dissatisfied or very dissatisfied. So we have some cohort here. It doesn't like what's happening. It's not all that profitable, and there's not that much sales. Also, companies are experiencing channel conflict. We asked what the biggest challenges are regarding the selling on Amazon. Channel conflict, and 21%, unauthorized resellers, 19%, price erosion, 19%. So, collectively, the biggest issues have to do with channel conflict, and a lot of that is caused by either selling the product to Amazon and they control the price, or just not knowing who the hell these people are selling their products. Check this out, Andy. 70% of brands don't know who all their resellers are. They don't know who's selling their products on Amazon. It's incredible.
Yeah, so, I'm not surprised by that at all, actually. But I have a question for you. So in terms of the channel conflict, I know we've talked about this a little bit before. Is this manufacturers who are talking about channel conflict, or is this more distributors talking about channel conflict?
Well, it's both, right? Because the manufacturer wants to protect its channel, right? They want to make sure that their traditional distributor, the Grangers or the Fastenals or whoever in the world, aren't experiencing, aren't getting competed against by themselves directly or from Amazon. They don't want to necessarily shift. They want to capture incremental revenue. They don't want to cause channel conflict as it relates to, price erosion in particular. And so, from a manufacturer's perspective, it's the fear of that. And a lot of that is caused when they don't control the price, or they have resellers that don't have any value other than selling on Amazon, and all they do is drop the price. So you have that issue, right? So on the manufacturer side, and from a distributor standpoint, I mean, they're in some ways causing channel conflict with themselves if they sell on Amazon, right?
Well, that's what I'm curious about. Aren't they competing? I mean, especially larger distributors. Yeah. How is this not like they're cannibalizing themselves, right?
Well, they are. Well, they potentially. So here's the thing, though.
I don't think Grainger sells on Amazon.
No.
Business, do they? Yeah, and I think that's probably why. Because like, wait a minute, this is what we do. So why would we sell on Amazon if we're doing that ourselves right now? We are a marketplace. We don't want to sell on Amazon, which is also a marketplace.
Yeah, what you find is that the distributors, where they are using Amazon, it's either with their private label to build brand awareness of the private label product, they can control the price, or it's with, if they have, sort of exclusive relationships with suppliers, and the supplier doesn't want to sell on Amazon directly. So they say, hey, distributor, I trust you. Let's go sell. If you set up and sell on Amazon for me, I'll give you the rights to do that. Amazon has ways to grant brand, rights to companies, things like that. So that there's an argument that a distributor should sell on Amazon because number one, they should know what the hell Amazon's doing, because they're so pervasive. And the best way to know that is to sell there. But also it can be incremental revenue. Amazon's reach is enormous. I mean, they reach into new markets they're not in, things like that. So there are some distributors, quite a few that sell on Amazon, but it tends not to be the really big ones, Andy. It's sort of the mid-market folks that do it.
Well,
So
did you know the original idea behind Amazon Supply was to disintermediate distributors? They were going to take source directly from manufacturers and sell directly to buyers. And that did not work because they underestimated the relationship, the value of the relationship that buyers at the time had with distributors at the time. What I wonder, and I've always openly speculated about, is has that changed? And in fact, is that Amazon's real plan? Who knows? Is to return basically the original concept of Amazon Supply, which is to disintermediate distributors, become the mega distributor.
oh
I
yeah.
agree that smaller distributors, niche guys, don't have the reach that, say, a Granger or a Fastenal has. But the Granger and the Fastenals world, I think that's why they don't sell on Amazon, because they're like, wait a minute, we think Amazon Supply was the idea from the beginning. They took they went on a different path to introduce Amazon Business to play nice with distributors, but they really have a goal in the end of disintermediating us. I wonder if they weren't actually right about that, but I don't know.
There's no question. I mean, look, there's no secret to what Amazon is doing. They did the same thing in retail. I mean, they're clear. They're after whatever the best customer experience is, and the customer, in this case, the B2B buyer is going to choose the best experience, the experience they want. And if that relationship is important, consultative selling, et cetera, they're going to choose the distributor. But Amazon has not built this by accident. I mean, it's not an accident. Amazon has $80 billion in revenue. They're doing a better job in certain types of products and categories than the distributors are. So absolutely, Andy, they're taking share. There's no question. But they're doing it in a way that it ain't a secret. And that's why distributors should actually know what Amazon's doing with their e-commerce experience in B2B, because and the best way to know that is to sell there. So, and again,
Well, I've always said, you like my phrase. I think I may have coined this. I don't know. It was years ago. I call any relationship you have with Amazon is a manipulationship.
I remember you said that on our first recording ever. And I think that's sort of true. I mean, I just have to know how to navigate Amazon if you're going to get in to work with them. And there's different ways to sell on Amazon. We don't have time to cover it today, but you can control some of that. Here's the other big dynamic: is that competition has intensified on Amazon. Almost half of top Amazon sellers are based in China, and so the competitive landscape has changed dramatically. That's up from 10%, 6, 7, 8 years ago. It's now almost half. Now, this may change with tariffs and things.
Yeah, but the tariffs are probably going to throw this one a curveball.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, it's fascinating, so it's competitive. So we asked our audience on LinkedIn, is Amazon more of a friend or a foe to B2B companies? And Andy, 72% said foe. 28% said friend. It's interesting, because a lot
and
of
100% of distributors. I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, I think, and so there's a sentiment that Amazon is not a friendly place to do business. And when we asked our audience at the Mindshare Summit, I think, and I always refer to this book, Good to Great, Andy, Jim Collins, confronting the brutal reality of your situation. That was one of the main tenets of this book. What is the brutal reality of the market today? Well, Amazon is not going anywhere. They're doing nothing but growing, and buyers are opting to to move there. At least some of their purchase behavior. So when we asked the question at our Mindshare Summit last month, is Amazon a friend or foe? What the consistent message was, they're a frenemy, meaning that you need to know, you need to recognize what they're doing, and it is a very viable selling channel. But you also need to make sure you're doing it in a wise way. You're approaching the channel and managing, the potential risks carefully, and really know what you're doing. This is frankly why we have a business, right? At my other company. So
Well, it reminds me of the transfer portal in college
right,
athletics. Everything you just said, you could apply to that. Manage the risk. It's here to stay. You got to use it. You don't want to use it, but you have to.
right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Very similar. All right, so let's this has been a fun discussion. So let's get to some of our announcements because we're over Friday 20. I knew it. So Nexus, folks, our new Nexus program is now available. We've just signed up a couple new members just this week. Exciting! This is your personal digital lifeline. It is we provide expert advice exclusively for B2B e-com executives. We connect you with other executives and industry experts, answer your questions quickly, accurately, and we have, really it's a custom, almost concierge type service for B2B e-commerce executives, facilitated peer networking, exclusive events, etc. So you find out more on our website. Go to masterb2b.com and click on Nexus. Also, our forum continues to grow. We have wonderful conversations just this week. Good 6 or 7, really interesting questions were asked, and people answering those and interacting. So great place to go. It's free for practitioners. Go to our website, sign up for that under forum. We have a couple roundtables coming up: Minneapolis, New York City, and Los Angeles. Go to our website there. You can see the dates and submit to attend those. And finally, I want to remind everyone that our Friday 15 is available on podcast format in your favorite podcast place, wherever you want to go. And please give us a review. Thank you. It'll be very helpful. So if you enjoy what we do, if you don't enjoy what we do, just stop listening and don't review us. Anyway, Andy, any final words before we end our Friday? 20 plus, my goodness.
Yeah. Next week, we'll be back from B2B Online. So we have some dinners going on there. We've got some conversations that we're going to be on stage, like I said, talking about PE, good or bad. So next week's report could be interesting.
Yeah, I think we'll do a report out maybe next week. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week, and maybe even in Chicago. See ya.